trying to bring me down. Enemies lurking, but I won't back away. Got a vision in my mind, I'm here to stay. Got my crew beside me, we rise like a tide. When the storm gets rough, we ain't gonna hide. Propaganda swirling, but it won't touch me. Only love around, that's how it's gonna be. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. In the city lights where dreams collide, we hustle through the night, fire in our stride. Whispers in the dark can't dim my glow. With rhythm in my soul, I'm ready for the show. We break the chains, rewrite the rules in this concrete jungle where nobody's fools. Unity sings louder than the lies they scheme. In the heart of the struggle, we dare to dream. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track.
Another Queen Amadaya production.
Haze on the corner, they talking real loud. Spreading on light, trying to bring me down. Enemies lurking, but I won't back away. Got a vision in my mind, I'm here to stay. Got my crew beside me, we rise like a tide. When the storm gets rough, we ain't gonna hide. Propaganda swirling, but it won't touch me. Only love around, that's how it's gonna be. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. In the city lights where dreams collide, we hustle through the night, fire in our stride. Whispers in the dark can't dim my glow. With rhythm in my soul, I'm ready for the show. We break the chains, rewrite the rules in this concrete jungle where nobody's fools. Unity sings louder than the lies they scheme. In the heart of the struggle, we dare to dream. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. Haze on the corner, they talking real loud. Spreading on light, trying to bring me down. Enemies lurking, but I won't back away. Got a vision in my mind, I'm here to stay. Got my crew beside me, we rise like a tide. When the storm gets rough, we ain't gonna hide. Propaganda swirling, but it won't touch me. Only love around, that's how it's gonna be. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. In the city lights where dreams collide, we hustle through the night, fire in our stride. Whispers in the dark can't dim my glow. With rhythm in my soul, I'm ready for the show. We break the chains, rewrite the rules in this concrete jungle where nobody's fools. Unity sings louder than the lies they scheme. In the heart of the struggle, we dare.
All right. Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning back in once again to the original Queen AmadayAShakur show. I'm your host, Queen AmadayAShakur, and this is your daily vitamins. So as you're coming in, please feel free to go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Be sure to click that notification bell and click the word all so you're notified each time the Queen Goddess goes live. All right, so let's see who's in here. Cherokee Descendant Dale, Buckhorse DC, Millicent. All right, let's get into it. The infamous Marty Marr is here. Bob the Cat thing is here. All right, let's get into it. Shoshana Hadassah is here. All right, Miss Trees, Soldier Chibi, Trisha, Emperor Rex, Cookie. All right, shout out to all of my loyal royals and everyone tuned into the Queen, and a big shout out to my moderators because y'all know they be putting in work. Okay, it's so. Thank you, the infamous Marty Marr. Thank you, beloved. I appreciate you. Now, before we get started, let's have a brief word from my sponsor at 12 Tribes.
Do not buy 12 Tribes on Earth hair growth oil and hair magic elixir unless you want super healthy, gorgeous hair that grows. They have a whole line of amazing hair growth products, including hair growth leave-in conditioner spray, hair growth shampoo, hair growth spray, and hair growth butter. I'm starting to sense a theme here. They include quality natural ingredients. They smell amazing, and you can see the results for yourself. So if you're looking for healthy hair growth for your natural or relaxed hair, try 12 Tribes on Earth today.
Hey, so that all being said, don't forget you can purchase 12 Tribes Hair Oil at Etsy.com. Just look for Lisa Crafts. Also, don't forget that you can find it at Walmart.com. Okay, and Don't forget that she sells beard oil as well. Okay, so let's get right into it. Now, I see that something just popped up about Trump crashing out. Let me see what this is. Mm-hmm. It says there was a crash out. 47 is haunted by cognitive test, corruption probe, elitist economic debacle. Now, this is all reported by MS Now. It came out about 8 minutes ago, so this is fresh off the press. Okay, so we're going to talk about that. But before we do, let me just send this to my email real quick. Before we get into that, let's talk about Chud the Builder, because y'all know that they charged him with a myriad of charges. One of those was attempted murder. Okay, hold on just a second. Let me send this to my email so we can talk about that. Okay, so let's go to the report. Let's go to the report. Likes up, everyone, please don't forget to like and share. Okay, here we go. I'm going to share my screen.
Personality known as Chud the Builder appeared in court this morning after investigators say he shot a man outside the Montgomery County Courthouse. News 2's Maggie Weaver is live in Clarksville after a judge set a temporary $1.25 million bond. Maggie, what else can you tell us?
Yeah, Kendall, of course, after this arraignment, we actually were able to see that Dalton Etherly was ordered by a judge held on a temporary $1.25 million bond. And of course, that's as the court prepares to have a separate bond hearing next week, we do know. So we're actually seeing that investigators say that Etherly shot another man outside the Montgomery County Courthouse after an argument turned physical Wednesday afternoon. Now, the arrest affidavit says that the man was hit multiple times and rushed to Vanderbilt University Medical Center for emergency surgery. Etherly is now charged with attempted criminal homicide, employing a firearm during a dangerous felony, aggravated assault causing serious bodily injury, and reckless endangerment with a deadly weapon. Now, Etherly is known online as Chud the Builder, and the Associated Press previously reported Etherly faced criticism over videos described as racist and anti-Semitic. Now, court records also show that Etherly is involved in another ongoing legal matters, including a pending harassment charge in Montgomery County. Separate civil filings accuse him as well of failing to repay money connected to business agreements and online fundraising efforts. Well, during Friday's hearing, the judge pointed to seriousness of these charges and public safety concerns, as well as Etherly's existing bond status in other cases, while setting that temporary bond amount. Now, that bond hearing is scheduled for May 21st, and then that preliminary hearing will happen on May 26th. Reporting live here in Clarksville, Maggie Weaver, News 2.
Mag and Mike Johnson.
All right, so I find it all very interesting. I find it all interesting. Now, you all see what happened to him. Now, he thought for sure that he wasn't going to get charged. He thought he wasn't going to get charged at all. Now, we'll see how it all turns out. I hope that he goes to prison where he clearly belongs. Okay, let that be a lesson to him and other people who walk around thinking like him. Okay? He was looking for trouble and he darn sure found it. All right? Now, there's no way he's going to be able to pay that type of bail. Now, how do we know that? Because, first of all, he couldn't even pay for a $371 meal, okay, that he skipped out on the other night, remember? So, you play stupid games. Y'all know the rest. Now, I would like to know how the other man's condition is. I'm just curious. I'm going to see if I can find out some information on that in a few. Now, but with that all been said, yeah, that $1.25 million bond or bail, that's going to keep him sitting in there. Okay, so now let's talk about this. Do you all think this is interesting? Because I do. Now, in light of all the recent events that have transpired with the bombing of Iran and all of the things that's going on with the Strait of Hormuz, the global economic crisis, and all of these things, gas prices sky high, some gas stations have no gas. And then now I just find it interesting, to say the least, that now they say they have arrested a terrorist from Iraq who had planned to attack a synagogue. Okay. And then just yesterday, I told you all about the former mayor, Eileen Wang, who turns out to be a whole agent for China and was here on a mission to spread and spew propaganda, allegedly. Now, she supposedly admitted to all of this, could be facing up to 10 years. But also, I thought it's interesting that at the same time this is all going on, so we have a mayor who was a whole agent for a foreign country, spreading and spewing propaganda. We have a terrorist from Iraq who came over here, or who was supposed to be attacking a synagogue because he's angry about the war against Iran that Trump and Netanyahu started. But also, we have Monica Witt, a former Air Force intelligence specialist who has been charged with espionage, and there's a $200,000 reward out for information that would possibly lead to her capture because they don't know where she is. Okay? Yes, Nene, I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree. Always the victims. Now, with that all being said, let's first talk about this mayor, which I told you all about her yesterday, but let's go to this report that came out today about 10 o'clock this morning from the New York Times. I'm sorry, the New York Post. Okay, so neighbors of so-called mayor who worked as secret agent for China reveal her secret double life. Let's get into it. So, disgraced former Arcadia Mayor Eileen Wang has finally resurfaced in public after resigning in shame over allegations that she acted as a spy for the People's Republic of China. Now, Wang stepped down after admitting in a federal plea agreement that she operated as an agent for Beijing, a stunning scandal prosecutors say highlights the growing threat of Chinese influence operations targeting the United States. You know, I find this interesting that they're now talking about this when I said this 6 years ago, back in 2020, when I had those dreams about it. But what I also find interesting is that this woman is supposed to have been here spying for Beijing, and Trump was just in Beijing talking to Xi Jinping. Now, did Trump not know about this? I'm pretty sure he did, because one would think that he would have definitely been informed about this, and he didn't ask Xi Jinping anything about why in the hell y'all have people over here spying and spreading propaganda on us. No, he didn't. He said the meeting went well, but let's continue. I'm just saying, if I were him, I would have had several questions. Now, Wang stepped down after admitting that she, in a plea deal, that she was absolutely operating as an agent for Beijing. A stunning scandal, prosecutors say, highlight the growing threat of Chinese influence operations targeting the United States. Now, for the first time since the explosive case rocked Southern California politics, Wang has been spotted quietly moving about Arcadia, keeping a low profile as federal scrutiny continues to swirl around her. The California Post visited Wang's Arcadia home, hoping to confront the fallen Democrat about the allegations that turned her from rising political star to alleged foreign operative. Sounds of movement could be heard from inside the home, and a man's voice was audible. But despite repeated knocks, no one answered the door. Well, I guess they didn't. Not long afterward, a vehicle previously linked to Wang was seen pulling out of the driveway and heading to Garfield Medical Center. Wang later emerged from the car, entered the facility, and eventually left without speaking to reporters. The same vehicle was later spotted outside the Sheraton San Gabriel. Neighbors told the Post the embattled ex-mayor has always kept an unusually low profile. They say she tends to keep to herself. This is what a neighbor by the name of David Zhang, who's 28, told the Post. The most we see of her is when she's walking her big husky around. We don't really see her outside, so we're not too familiar with her personal situation. And we wave at each other, but that is the limit of our interaction. Now, sometimes she has a man over and we hear a bit of yelling and arguing that sounds like a domestic dispute. Talk about nosy neighbors. Do you all hear this? Another neighbor by the name of Paul Brink, who's 86, recalled Wang canvassing door to door during her early political rise. She came door to door giving out the brochure. Okay, she was a regular candidate introducing herself and saying she was a neighbor running for council. He described her as a nice dressed lady, but declined to say whether he voted for her. Now, a next door neighbor who declined to provide his last name says that Wang rarely interacted with anyone nearby, saying that when I see her, it's just hi and bye when she is passing. I see a guy coming by, but I do not know if he lives there. I do not get into politics at all. Usually, I just watch Netflix and YouTube. Sounds like me, but I digress. I do not watch the regular news. Now, federal prosecutors allege Wang worked alongside her then fiance, Yoing, Yoing. I'm not sure how to say this. I'm just going to call him Yoing because that's what it looks like, Yoing's son, okay, to operate a website called U.S. News Center, which authorities say masqueraded as a Chinese American news outlet while secretly advancing Beijing's influence agenda between 2020 and 2022. Now, prosecutors also allege John Chin helped bankroll Wang's 2022 Arcadia City Council campaign alongside Sun while allegedly reporting back to handlers connected to the Chinese government. Wang's political ascent accelerated after she switched from the Republican Party to the Democratic Party in 2022. The same year, prosecutors say the alleged foreign influence campaign ramped up. Now, despite the scandal that now currently surrounds her, Wang was once celebrated by top Democrats. In 2024, Representative Judy Chu named Wang Woman of the Year, applauding her strong voice, leadership, and dedication to serving her community. Well, she was serving her community all right, in more ways than one, allegedly. Okay, so, what do you all think about that? Now, I can assure you that this is going to have an effect on whether or not many of these people want to continue. Now, this is just my opinion. Whether or not these people want to continue to vote for foreign mayors and the like. I think that's what this is giving. Now, mind you, I wouldn't think that way because this is just one person. Okay, it's not like every foreign person who's in politics or who runs for mayor would be doing such things, but I'm just saying, you know how the MAGA minions think. Okay, I'm just saying. Now, please pay attention. Now, with that all being said, okay, Claudette said exactly. All right, hey, Ashkan. Okay, so now with that all being said, it's just a sad state of affairs. So let's talk about this supposed terrorist. Okay, now I got this straight from the DOJ's website, even though there are numerous articles, but Iraqi national arrested and charged with providing material support to Iranian-backed terrorist organizations and directing attacks targeting U.S. citizens and interests. Okay, let's see if we believe this. The Justice Department announced today the arrest of Mohammed Bagar Saad Dawad al-Sadi, an Iraqi national and senior member of Kataib Hezbollah, a U.S. designated foreign terrorist organization, FTO. Now, al-Sadi was charged by complaint with 6 counts of terrorism-related offenses for his activities as an operative of Kataib Hezbollah, not Hezbollah, this is Hezbollah, and Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, including his involvement in nearly 20 attacks and attempted attacks throughout Europe and the United States. Al-Sadi was arrested on the charges contained in the complaint, which was unsealed today, transferred into U.S. custody overseas, and transported to the United States. Al-Sadi was presented earlier today before U.S. Magistrate Judge Sarah Netburn in Manhattan Federal Court and ordered detained pending trial. Thanks to the dedication and vigilance of law enforcement, this alleged terrorist commander is now in U.S. custody. This is what the acting Attorney General Todd Blanche said. As alleged in the complaint, al-Sadi directed and urged others to attack the U.S. and is not real interest and to kill Americans and use with a J in the U.S. and abroad. And in doing so, advance the terrorist goals of Kataib, Hezbollah, and Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. I don't know if you all believe this, but I don't. But let me keep going. It all sounds so convenient. And remember, I told you all about a false flag that I felt was coming. Now, these charges show American law enforcement. I think this is priming us for it. Just my opinion. These charges show American law enforcement will never let such evil go unchecked and will use all tools to disrupt and dismantle foreign terrorist organizations and their leaders. Please, are you talking about the same FBI that has a director by the name of Small Change Patel, who was caught and busted, and we know he can't be trusted because he was padding the books and lying about arrests that he didn't make and that were not even federal crimes, taking away, stealing the credit from the local law enforcement at the state level? Is that the one you're talking about? Okay, because please. Now, anyway, with that all being said, it says the FBI's successful FTOC of Mohammed al-Sadi, another high-value target responsible for mass global terrorism. I mean, they really know they're embellishing. I don't care what they say, but let me continue. They have to make it so full of intrigue and suspense. And see, this is why I'm reading what they put out rather than just reading the articles, because I wanted to hear how they just try to make it so salacious. But anyway, goes on to say, that he is another high-value target responsible for mass global terrorism. It's just the latest success in this administration's historic work to bring terrorists to justice. This is what Small Change said. After we caught you snorkeling, okay, at the Pearl Harbor Memorial, you idiots, on the taxpayers' dime while there's a whole war raging on, no less, and then patting the books. Let me continue. It's just disgusting. Now, this was a righteous mission executed brilliantly by our agents, investigators, CIRG tactical units, and interagency partners who delivered yet again. We are greatly appreciative of the work of our allies around the world. You don't have any allies around the world, fool. Especially Ambassador Tom Barak, who led this joint sequenced operation and has been instrumental in bringing this successful mission home to the United States. As alleged, al-Sadi coordinated a wave of attacks across Europe, including bombings, arson, and assaults targeting American communities and interests. This is according to Assistant Attorney General for National Security, John A. Eisenberg. They say the complaint further alleges that al-Sadi discussed attacking locations in New York, California, and Arizona, and presented a serious threat to our national security. We will continue to work closely with international partners to hold terrorists accountable and U.S. courts. What about themselves? Because aren't they terrorists? What about the January 6ers? Those are some domestic terrorists, but rather than hold them accountable and have them in prison where they clearly need to be for life, after people died in that riots, they're going to give them money. But, let me continue. Mohammed Bagar Saed Dawad al-Sadi, a commander for the terrorist organization Kataib Hezbollah, faces serious charges for his role in numerous attacks against U.S. interests across the globe, including his efforts to kill on U.S. soil. This is what U.S. Attorney Jay Clayton for the Southern District of New York said. As alleged, for years, al-Sadi committed himself to furthering the terrorist goals of Kataib, Hezbollah, and the IRGC, two terrorist organizations dedicated to harming the United States and its allies. Again, we have no allies. Most recently, al-Sadi attempted to carry out attacks in the United States, including in New York City. Al-Sadi attempted to disrupt American society through intimidation and violence. In a righteous and just contrast, his prosecution will highlight the best of our country. Those who engage in or support terrorism against Americans and on U.S. soil should take note. The whole of the federal government is committed to dismantling terrorist organizations and bringing their members to justice. I commend our law enforcement partners for their outstanding investigative work, resulting in the arrest of al-Sadi, who will now face justice in a U.S. court. Okay. Do you all notice that they keep using the word righteous? I want you all to pay attention to that because you know they're on this whole Christian kick. Let them tell it. But they keep using the word righteous. It's like the third time I've read it. Anyway, in the span of just 3 months, Mohammed al-Sadi allegedly directed 18 terrorist attacks throughout Europe. Really? Let me just look this up real quick. I didn't hear anything about this. Did any of you? Hold on. And how come Europe didn't catch him if they knew he did it? I have several questions. I'm not saying he didn't do it. I'm just wondering why they didn't catch him. Did they know it was him? Or maybe they didn't know until after the fact. In 3 months, he directed 18 terrorist attacks. In 3 months. That's a whole lot in 3 months. Okay? Let me look this up real quick. Ah, please pay attention. I looked it up to see if it was true, and here's what it says. Yes, according to a major federal indictment unsealed by the U.S. Department of Justice, an Iraqi national named Mohammed al-Sadi. Okay, that's just taking me right back to them. I'm trying to see if this is verified by anyone in Europe, any of the European countries. Okay, I'm going to have to dig into this because I don't believe anything they say. I just don't. But let me continue. So goes on to, because 18 attacks in 3 months is a whole lot, all I'm saying. Now, that all being said, including against the United States citizens and interests, and plan to conduct a similar attack here in our country. This is according to FBI Assistant Director in charge, James C. Barnacle Jr. Now, pay attention to how they're using all of these different FBI agents' names, how they're allowing all of them to supposedly say something in this. Okay, first of all, you have Small Change Patel, okay? And then you had this other person, U.S. Attorney Jay Clayton for the Southern District of New York. Then you had Assistant Attorney General for National Security, John A. Eisenberg. And now you have FBI Assistant Director in charge, James C. Barnacle Jr. Okay, do you all hear this? They're trying to make it like everybody's just out here working and fighting crime and stopping terrorism. That's what it's all looking like. Now, the FBI's New York Joint Terrorism Task Force maintains its unwavering resolve to hold accountable leaders of foreign terrorist organizations who utilize mass fear and suffering to further their anti-American agenda. This case puts into stark relief the global threats posed by the Iranian regime and its proxies like Kataib Hezbollah, foreign terrorist organizations that have repeatedly targeted the Jewish communities across Europe and the United States since the war began, says NYPD Commissioner Jessica S. Teach. There's another name thrown out there. Working with our law enforcement partners, we disrupted a plot against the Manhattan synagogue, and in partnership with the synagogue's leadership, ensured its security when the threat was elevated. The NYPD's work in this case, from officers assigned to the JTTF to intelligence analysis provided through our international liaison program, helped protect the streets of our city. The NYPD has the most robust municipal counterterrorism and intelligence capacity of any city in the world, which is only strengthened by our partnership with federal agencies on cases like this one. Okay, they have so much to say. I'm going to read this next paragraph, and that's going to be it for me. Al-Sadi is a commander for Kataib Hezbollah, a United States designated FTO, foreign terrorism organization. I'm sure that's what FTO stands for, operating in Iraq that is closely aligned with the IRGC. Now, the IRGC, which is also a U.S. designated FTO, is an Iranian military and counterintelligence agency that operates under the authority of Iran's supreme leader. The IRGC has publicly stated its desire and intention to conduct operations targeting those perceived to be enemies of the Iranian regime, and it has plotted and conducted attack operations targeting, among others, U.S. citizens residing abroad and in the United States, including attacks that resulted in the deaths of U.S. citizens. Iran Iran and the IRGC use other terrorist and paramilitary proxies in the region to take lethal action and to carry out operations against the United States and its allies. These proxies include Kataib Hezbollah, which has received extensive training, funding, logistical support, weapons, and intelligence from the IRGC's External Operations Force. Okay, the IRGC Quds Force. And as alleged in the complaint, al-Sadi worked closely with Qasem Soleimani, the longtime commander of the IRGC-QF, who was killed during a U.S. airstrike in or around 2020. Yes, at the order of Donald Trump. Please pay attention. As well as Abu Mahdi al-Muhandis, who was the leader of Kataib Hezbollah until he was killed in the same airstrike that killed Soleimani. Below are photographs from one of al-Sadi's social media accounts of al-Sadi with Soleimani, including at a military related facility. Okay, so I'm going to stop right there. I'm going to stop right there because this has a bit more, and I think we get the gist of it at this point. Okay, now with that all being said, it just seems like there's a whole lot going on. I mean, what do you all think? I mean, like I said, this woman who was the mayor is a whole agent, and then you have this special intelligence specialist flipped the script and was spying or was reporting back to Iran, charged with espionage. This is all just crazy. This is all crazy as far as I'm concerned. Now, the picture that they're talking about with this man, Mohammed al-Sadi, the only picture that I found of him online was the picture that they're talking about. And it's just a side profile of him. Hold on, I'm going to put it on the screen. Now, this is supposed to be him on the thumbnail, but that's just trying to figure out how he would look if you could see his full face. That's him right there. And that's General Soleimani, whom Trump had assassinated, mind you. Okay, now with that all being said, let's continue. Okay, now let's talk about this woman that is wanted, because they're offering quite a bit of money for this young lady. $200K. Like some, everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance.
Let's dig deeper into that ex-Air Force analyst charged with spying. We've got our Peter Haralambis from our New York newsroom here with those details. Peter, how's it going, man? Let's get right to it. People are searching. Who is Monica Witt, and what exactly is she accused of doing?
Yeah, it's a great question. She is someone who served in the Air Force for about a decade, ending her service in 2008. She then became a defense contractor, and with those roles, she had access to top secret information. Now, prosecutors allege that she first visited Iran for a conference held by an anti-American group. She was warned that that conference might actually be a recruiting front for counterintelligence efforts. But despite those warnings, she returned in 2013, where prosecutors say she defected. Since then, they allege that she's provided top secret information to Iranian forces that have endangered U.S. personnel in the region and have assisted other terrorist organizations.
Wow, Peter, so it sounds like they've been aware of her for a while. Do we know exactly where she could be?
At this point, it's unclear. They say they're now increasing this award to $200,000, hoping that perhaps someone knows information about her. All they know is that they believe she is in Iran somewhere. On top of that, the FBI isn't really saying more about why now, but in a statement, the FBI agent in charge of the D.C. Counterintelligence Office said that in this critical time of Iranian history, they hope someone might know something about her that they could share. If that person comes forward, they're primed to get $200,000.
Yeah, Peter, people are searching a ton about Monica's military background. What do we know about her time spent there?
Yeah, there are a few really interesting things there in terms of her background. First, not only was she an intelligence expert for the Air Force, but she also served as a special agent for the law enforcement branch within the Air Force itself. As part of that role, she had information related to counterintelligence. That includes kind of knowing the names and identities of people who might be operating undercover overseas. On top of that, we know she was in the region between 2003 and 2008 for her Air Force roles. Prosecutors at this point say that she not only revealed the identity of one person who was serving in U.S. intelligence, but also details about a top secret intelligence gathering operation.
The story's almost unbelievable. Peter, thank you so much.
Okay. Now, with that all being said, hold on, beloveds. Let me see something real quick here. Okay, so I'm gonna go to this next clip that just came up because this is from 42 minutes ago. It's CNN with a report of what CNN saw at an Iranian bridge construction site bombed by the US. Okay, so let's take a look at this. It wasn't on my agenda, but I'm curious.
Maintains full editorial control of the reports. Matthew Chance is there, and he got a first-hand look at some of the destruction on the ground.
A rare glimpse of the tightly controlled Islamic Republic. We drove out of Tehran, the bustling but still tense capital, past anti-American slogans daubed along the route, to the town of Karaj, and one painful scar left by the latest US-led war. When finished, the B-1 bridge was meant to be a symbol of Iranian engineering prowess, the tallest in the region. But for now, it's become a battered monument to ruthless American air power. Wow, well, you really get a sense of the incredible destructive force that was at play with these US airstrikes that smashed this concrete look and twisted all this reinforced steel. Let's take a look, see if we can get closer, a bit closer to the edge. I mean, look at the concrete pylons that have been absolutely shattered. And down here, I mean, it's a huge drop of 450 feet. This was, as I mentioned, the highest bridge in the Middle East. And there were people down below who were caught up in this and killed.
So here is a before of my stomach.
And the Iranian official who was sent to show us around insisted this targeting of infrastructure and the killing of innocent civilians was a war crime that should be punished. It's an allegation US officials categorically deny.
The Americans say that this was a legitimate military target, that this bridge would have been used for the transport of drones and missiles, and therefore it was fair game. How do you answer that?
That's a false narrative from President Trump. This bridge hadn't even opened. Not a single car had driven over. It was built for the use of our people and was just called a military target so it could be bombarded, demolished and destroyed.
Back in April, Trump posted video of the attack on his Truth Social platform, urging Iran to make a deal before it's too late. Now, after his state visit to China, there's still no deal. And Trump is raising the issue again, amid concerns the fragile ceasefire with Iran could soon break down.
We haven't knocked out other than one bridge that we did because they misbehaved. But we have bridges we could knock out. We could knock out their bridges and their electrical capacity within 2 days. We could knock out the whole thing.
It's a terrifying possibility, but one that doesn't seem to be giving Iran much pause.
Why is it important for this country to rebuild the bridge now, when there's the possibility that the Americans could strike it again in the near future? Why now?
We're not thinking about that. Our focus is on the reconstruction of our bridge. It was designed and built by our engineers, despite many difficult years of sanctions.
And amid growing tensions with the US, Iranian officials insist this symbol of the Islamic Republic will rise again.
Well, Sarah, those remarks by President Trump that he could easily destroy Iran's bridges and its electrical capacity, obviously raising tensions with the Islamic Republic. Iranian officials have appealed to China to use their diplomatic influence to try and bring a solution to this. But I can tell you the sense tonight in Tehran, the Iranian capital, is that fragile ceasefire with the United States could quickly fall apart. Back to you.
New reporting at the top of the show that Trump may be moving closer to new strikes on Iran. What would this accomplish in your mind?
Well, certainly it would create more devastation, casualties within Iran, but also could lead to a wider conflict throughout the entire Gulf region, and certainly would send oil prices skyrocketing and really hurt the economies and the jobs of people around the world, not just here in America where we're facing high gas prices, but really affect the industries and the jobs of people throughout the world.
Evelyn, would new strikes actually go towards ending the war or trying to end it quicker, or would it potentially prolong this?
Sarah, I don't think new strikes would bring an end to the war. And it's interesting to me that nothing came out of China, because that tells me the Chinese actually aren't even trying to dissuade us from using force, or at least I didn't hear anything along those lines. That tells me that the Chinese think it might be a bad move for the United States, to use military force because it won't work. And the Chinese will be happy to watch us make a bad move. So what am I saying here? The Iranians will make a deal if we give them something they want, and that's about diplomacy.
Secretary Locke, you heard Trump just a few minutes ago tell Fox News, "I did not underestimate anything when it comes to Iran." Do you think he did underestimate Iran's ability to take this?
I think he very much did underestimate.
Listen, at this point, we all know that he underestimated them grossly. They all did. Okay, that's why we're in the predicament we're in now. Remember, he said it would be over with in 4 to 5 days. That's because he grossly underestimated them. He thought he was going to be able to send in the troops and do the same thing he did in Venezuela, but no such luck. And I can assure you that this war is not going to end until and only until they give Iran something that they're asking for. Other than that, it's not going to happen. And then, like Claudette said, misbehave. Trump speaks about them as if he's their father and they're his children. Oh, they misbehaved, so we had to do this. He is so ridiculous, and he has no diplomacy in him. He does not even know how to negotiate. Okay, and I've heard that they would rather negotiate with President Barack Obama than Trump. Okay.
Because in the first few days of the war, in late February, he said it was over, and that it would just be a matter of days before he would accomplish all of his goals. Yes, he took out the top leadership of Iran, and they had over 13,000 military strikes. And when you add the number of strikes by Israel, it's over 30,000 military strikes. And yet here we are. The Strait of Hormuz is closed. There's a blockade of Iran by the United States, and nothing has really changed.
Evelyn, you just alluded to this. That it appears that Trump wasn't able to convince China to do anything to help stop this war with Iran. And we know U.S. allies in Europe haven't been willing to help. So this war has sort of created even more distance between Trump and some of America's closest allies. In that context, let's play something the German Chancellor Friedrich Merz said today.
Ich bin ein großer Bewunderer Amerikas.
I'm a great admirer of America, but my admiration is not growing at the moment.
Ich würde meinen Kindern
I wouldn't recommend that my children go to the U.S. today, get their education there, and work there.
What do you think this says about America's standing in the world at this point, that a U.S. ally would say something like that?
It's so low that inside these countries, for the chancellor, for the leader of a major German political party, the one that's still in power right now, that's struggling to stay in power, it's politically smart to say bad things about America and to dissuade his people from thinking positively about their number one ally historically, so, or in recent history. And so Sarah tells me that he's not afraid to insult us or President Trump because he believes that it's in his political interest domestically. And right now, I just want to tie it back to Iran. We need those European allies. At the end of the day, this is only going to be solved through diplomacy, and we need the Europeans for that because they have the other economic leverage required to give Iran something, which is relief from sanctions.
Well, Trump has already pretty much burned that bridge, no pun intended. Okay, but here's the thing. Let's talk about President Barack Obama. Okay, because Obama has been throwing a little bit of shade at Trump, and I absolutely am here for all of it. Okay, I'm going to go to this interview he did with CBS, but also, hold on. Also, The Hill reported that, hold on, where is it? President Obama on Iran. We pulled it off without firing a single missile. Okay, that's what President Barack Obama said. Former President Obama is making the case for diplomacy with Iran amid the ongoing conflict, pointing to the 2015 nuclear deal as evidence that Tehran's program can be constrained without further military intervention. And it absolutely can. Listen, let me just tell you all something in case you all missed it. The bottom line is that Netanyahu, in my opinion, does not want this war to end. He's been waiting gleefully on the sidelines to get a fool, and he found one in Trump, to go to war with Iran. So he doesn't want peaceful negotiations. He doesn't want Iran to get a single thing that they're asking for. Now, this is just my opinion, purely speculation, but I believe that I'm absolutely right. And with that all being said, no matter what deal Iran offers, I just don't think Trump's going to take it because Netanyahu doesn't want him to. Okay, because here's the bottom line. How do we know this is very plausible? Because in the beginning, we already had a deal with Iran that President Barack Obama got in 2015. That deal was absolutely fine. Okay, there was nothing wrong with it. And Iran had agreed to the terms and conditions, but Trump came along and ripped it to shreds. And so now we have no deal, and he's desperately, or acting as though he's desperately trying to get one. Okay? Well, so now he's going to have to be on their terms or he's not getting a deal. That's just what it is. And Netanyahu is probably laughing because he loves every minute of this, because this is what he loves. He loves war. He's a warmonger. Okay, that's exactly what he is. So anyway, let me continue. Goes on to say that pointing to the 2015 nuclear deal as evidence that Tehran's program can be constrained without further military intervention. He said, we went about trying to negotiate a diplomatic agreement that would get the enriched uranium out of Iran. That would assure they could not get a nuclear weapon without us knowing about it, and that there were mechanisms in place to enforce it and verify it. Okay, this is what he said. Now, and we pulled it off without firing a missile. Obama was referring to the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, also known as the JCPOA, an agreement negotiated during his second term designed to curb Iran's nuclear program in exchange for sanctions relief from the U.S., Russia, China, France, and the United Kingdom and Germany. Now, the former president recalled that his administration weighed using military force against Tehran during that period, but opted to use it as a last resort after diplomatic talks. My basic theory was that Iran couldn't become a nuclear state, that the regime itself was murderous, oftentimes toward its own people, engaged in state-sponsored terrorism, was a threat to the United States and allies of ours. So the idea that they would have nuclear weapons would be extraordinarily dangerous, he said. What I also believed was that the regime was not entirely irrational, that they had a survival instinct, and that you can carry out the military, or that when you carry out military force, innocent people die. Now, do you see how President Obama makes more sense than Trump? How he didn't underestimate them, because he said they have a survival instinct and that they are rational people. They're not entirely irrational, basically. Now, the discussions were long and complex, but in the end, Iran agreed to major restrictions on its nuclear program and to open its facilities to international inspectors. Now, the deal required Iran to reduce its stockpile of enriched uranium by close to 98%, but they were allowed to maintain some low-grade substance for civilian energy purposes. There's no dispute that it worked, and we didn't. We didn't have to kill a whole bunch of people or shut down the Strait of Hormuz. Now, the JCPOA remained in effect from January of 2016 until President Trump unilaterally withdrew the U.S. from the agreement during its first term in 2018, describing it at the time as horrible, a one-sided deal that should never have been made. How was it one-sided? The USA got exactly what they asked for. But he just can't stand President Obama. European partners attempted to keep the deal going after the US's withdrawal, but Tehran defied and accelerated its uranium enrichment the following year. And this is all thanks to Trump's dumb self. And they would never have gotten more enriched uranium had it not been for Trump and his ignorance. So do you see what this all is? This, in my opinion, was Trump's plan all along. That's why they made him the president again, because I don't think he was voted in. I think they selected him to be the president. Now, with that being said, here's the thing. By him ripping up that agreement in 2018, he already knew that that would give Bibi Netanyahu the ability to start back saying, oh, they're going to have nuclear capabilities. They're going to blow us up. They're going to try to destroy all of us. That gave him the opportunity to start saying those lies again. Okay? Because now the deal's ripped up. And to make it seem like they're back to being a threat. And so now here we are in a whole war. Okay? And so anyway, with that all being said, let's go to this video clip from President Obama on CBS. I haven't watched this. I just found it. Like, up, everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance. Here we go.
As we sit down to talk, and the United States is again embroiled in a Middle Eastern conflict. Negotiating the Iran nuclear deal was one of the major achievements of your presidency. As you were in the throes of that diplomacy, to what level was military action a tool in your arsenal, or was that considered at all?
Oh, it was definitely considered.
What's the push-pull between diplomacy and military action?
My basic theory was that Iran couldn't become a nuclear state, that the regime itself was murderous, oftentimes towards its own people, engaged in state-sponsored terrorism, was a threat to the United States and allies of ours. So the idea that they would have nuclear weapons would be extraordinarily dangerous.
Hold on, beloveds. Let me just check something really quick. Because this is a CBS interview. I'm hoping it's not 60 minutes. Because you know you're not supposed to be showing 60 minutes. Hold on, let me see here. Okay, it just says CBS. Okay, so I should be good. Okay, let's continue. Because, honey, they'll block your whole video if you show CBS or 60 minutes. At least they will with mine.
It would also trigger a nuclear arms race in what is a powder keg. What I also believed was that the regime was not entirely irrational, that they had a survival instinct, and that when you carry out military force, innocent people die, so we should try to use that as a last resort instead of the first.
Okay, I'm going to stop it right there because he's literally saying everything that I just read you all out of that article. And if I had known that, I wouldn't even have read the article. I've just let him speak. Now, with that all being said, here's the thing, though. I want you all to pay attention because there's something very nefarious coming this way soon. Okay, and it's called The Handmaid's Tale. And if you all haven't watched that, you should. Okay, let's get into it because this is like their manifesto as far as I'm concerned. I'm going to go over some of this. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but you all need to be paying attention because this is by the Heritage Foundation, and they tried, the same people who made Project 2025, mind you. This is a special report. Saving America by Saving the Family, a foundation for the next 250 years. Now, I want you all to pay attention to how the devils think ahead and how they plan ahead. Okay? Now, this document's very interesting. It's like 168 pages, but we're just going to go over a few of them. Let's start with the intro. I picked out a few key points that I want to discuss with you all. Okay, so listen to this. On July the 4th of 2026, Americans will remember how the founding fathers won their freedom and established ordered liberty through a system of limited government, federalism, and the rule of law. In understanding their crowning achievement, Americans must recognize that the founding fathers were quite literally fathers. 54 of the 56 signers of the Declaration of Independence married and had a total of 337 children among them, an average of 6 each. Thus, when the men and women of the Revolution sacrificed their lives, fortunes, and sacred honor to secure the blessings of liberty for our posterity, it was their children, their children's children, and an expanding circle of Americans stretching across until generations that they had in mind. Across untold generations that they had in mind. And the key to American greatness in the first 250 years remains the key to American greatness in the next 250 years, the family. Now, I want you all to pay attention. How many of you, once in the chat, let me just see, how many of you have ever watched The Handmaid's Tale? Has anyone watched that? Because if you have, then you'll know that's what this is all sounding like. Okay, please pay attention. Now, the founders knew a hard truth, that when a nation fails to preserve the family, the state soon fails to preserve itself. This is fixed by the stubborn facts of human nature. It takes one fertile man and one fertile woman to reproduce, and young human beings are wholly dependent on others for many years after birth. One knows from universal experience that children are best raised in homes with their married mothers and fathers. Moreover, abundant social science research confirms that every alternative to the natural family with married parents has proven across space and time to be on average inferior for couples, and especially for any children that arise from their union. For that reason, Aristotle grounds political order not in the palace or the marketplace, but in the household. The family is the most natural of all associations for the supply of man's everyday wants, the first building block from which society arises. Cicero, building on the observations of Aristotle, referred to the first society as marriage itself, and the home with children as the foundation of civil government, the nursery, as it were, of state. The family is the foundation of civilization and marriage. The committed union of one man and one woman is its cornerstone. So we already know they're against same-sex marriages. Please pay attention. And having abortions. It is the seedbed of self-government. The home is where fathers, mothers, and their children cultivate virtue and practice cooperation, responsibility, stewardship, and self-reliance. Without families, a country cannot create meaningful work and prosperity. It lacks a storehouse of strong and brave men to protect itself from hostile aggressors at home and abroad. It lacks even the ingredients for responsible citizenship itself, without which no republic is possible. Despite their own radical philosophy, even the mad communist dictators of the 20th century, such as Stalin and Mao, could not eradicate the need for family. Okay, so do you all hear this? Yes, they want more pregnancies. Absolutely. Now, with that all being said, let me scroll down a bit more. They also talk about, the money, the welfare. They say that welfare helps to create single parent homes. So they're against welfare because they feel like, transgender and all of that stuff. They're against all of that. Okay. And so they mentioned specifically in here, they talk specifically about welfare in the parts that I've read so far. Now, here's the thing where they talk about the Negro family. I literally just saw this. Okay. When the Moynihan Report, the Negro family, the case for national action, was published in 1965, Daniel Patrick Moynihan, then Assistant Secretary of Labor under President Lyndon B. Johnson, was so concerned about a 25% non-marital birth rate for Black women that he called for national action from the federal government. In the decades since the report was published, that rate has nearly tripled. The changes in marriage culture and family structure that have largely been associated with low-income neighborhoods in the country's largest cities have taken on a new shape in recent decades. Today, the national non-marital rate is 40%, and 1/4 of American children live with a single parent, the highest rate in the world. The practical result is that millions of children will never experience life with both parents or stability in the home. Marriage no longer anchors childhood, and the results are clear. Weaker educational attainment among children, higher poverty, and neighborhoods hollowed out of instability or out by instability, alongside the decline in American marriage, has come to an even more precipitous drop in fertility. Unless reversed, deaths will soon outplace births, reshaping the American family from a source of abundance into a scarcity of both parents and children. This dramatic turn away from marriage and family formation has many causes, but two stand out. The first was Lyndon B. Johnson's war on poverty. The rapid growth of the welfare state incentivized unwed childbearing, imposed devastating financial penalties on low-income people who got married, and discouraged able-bodied people from working. The disruptions to American family life caused by bad public policy in the 1960s were exacerbated by cultural upheavals that radically changed social norms around sex, sexuality, marriage, children, and gender roles. Second wave was feminism, and the sexual revolution promoted an individualistic, child-free, marriage-free sexual liberation that promised to lead to an unparalleled era of consent-based human happiness and fulfillment. Over the course of 60 years, casual sex, abortion, childlessness by choice, and no-fault divorce became normalized, while marriage and the natural family became stigmatized. For most of human history, marriage was accepted as a lifelong union of one man and one woman. Also, or almost all major cultures recognized it as ennobling and viewed it as the optimal social arrangement for the rearing of children. Americans considered parenthood the natural and desirable course of life for almost everyone. Even through most of the 20th century, Americans married during young adulthood, and most children were born to married parents. That life script has been flipped. Today, fewer than 50% of Americans believe that society is better off when people prioritize marriage. These new norms mean that many children today will have no concept of traditional family name, family home, or family vacation, because their definition of family doesn't include marriage, and often either fathers or siblings. Okay, so I'm going to skip down some. I'm going to go to where they talk about the DEI and getting rid of it. First, let's stop right here. Stop pushing family formation. I think, yeah, that's it right here. Let's stop right here. The welfare state, this is where they talk about welfare. The welfare state kickstarted the current crisis by punishing work and marriage. The welfare system has made marriage economically irrational for many low-income couples. Nearly all of the cash, food, and housing programs focus on subsidizing non-married single-parent families, with the greatest benefits aimed at families that do not work. Moreover, all of the programs impose severe financial penalties on parents who choose to marry. These incentives are perverse. Marriage is one of the surest paths out of poverty and dependence, and improves the well-being of adults, children, and society. Because the first rule of getting out of a hole is to stop digging. Congress and the administration should eliminate all marriage penalties and welfare programs and impose meaningful work requirements. This can be done without adding costs to taxpayers by eliminating widespread fraud, waste, and excess benefits within the system. Additionally, work requirements for the able-bodied must be strengthened and enforced to ensure that children are raised in the best possible circumstances and not trapped in poverty. Now, I want you to pay attention because some of what they're saying sounds good, but I promise you it isn't. See, they're going to make it sound good so that you'll voluntarily go along with it. Please pay attention. They're going to make it sound tempting, so you'll say, well, wait a minute, this doesn't sound so bad. This is true what they're saying. I assure you, nothing about any of this is going to help you. Nothing about any of this is going to be good. Okay? I want you all to pay attention. Now, goes on to say, restoring the American dream. In the 20th century, the quintessential image of the American dream was a family at home with a white picket fence, inspired by the expectation of an even better future for one's children and grandchildren. That dream has all but slipped away from a generation of Americans who say they do not start families or do not have as many children as they would like because it has all become too costly, both personally and financially. Now, at the same time that Americans have lost confidence in the future and the size of the average family has shrunk, government has grown to gargantuan proportions. This does not seem to be a coincidence. Today, combined local, state, and federal government spending is over 35%. Now, this means that government takes over a third of the earnings of hardworking Americans and redistributes it to suit elite preferences. The federal debt alone is more than $270,000 per American household. This untenable situation imposes a crushing weight on the economy and stifles the growth and opportunity that families need to flourish. Beyond that, the federal government imposes trillions of dollars worth of needless regulatory burdens on the American people. Now, these regulations make up nearly a quarter of the cost of building a home. This is just one of many examples of how the regulatory state has made it nearly impossible for many families to flourish. Counterproductive regulations, of course, harm all aspects of civic life. They limit job prospects and make it harder for families to thrive with a single earner. They also stunt the creation of new family businesses and civic institutions and the development of new communities. Together, the fiscal and regulatory burdens of the government have created an anchor that holds back family formation in America. Accordingly, there must be a whole of government approach to elevating and defending the American family in all federal regulations, grants, enforcement, and research. In the first few months of his second term, President Donald Trump systematically dismantled diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI, the policies and practices that had become embedded throughout the federal government. The same zeal and tactics used to implement and then to roll back these policies because they hurt families should be used to further policies that actively support families. The president should issue a series of executive orders. Now listen to this, because what they're saying is that welfare divided and broke apart the family. They're also saying that these policies that they have, that they need to flip them so that they don't punish or penalize people for being married and having a family, but it actually works to benefit them. So listen to this. The president should issue a series of executive orders requiring every grant, contract, policy, regulation, research project, and enforcement action involving the federal government to do the following: explicitly measure how it helps or harms marriage and family, blocks actions that discriminate against family formation, and give preference to actions that support American families. Now, at the congressional level, much of the tax and spending of the federal government serves as a form of wealth redistribution from hardworking people to those who could but do not work, and to retirees. This hollowing out of the middle class families surely plays a role in family decline. To free the family of these government burdens, policymakers must address large spending programs that feed off of the work of Americans, that drain them of the ability to save and build a future for their children. Restoring the American dream requires a strong economy, freedom from debt, both personal and national, and a restoration of the national culture and spirit. The most anxious, lonely, and depressed generation in American history became that way through an increase in divorce and decline in religious attendance, careerism, a broken education system, out of reach housing cost, and the proliferation of addictive technology, rug abuse, and pornography. Now, actively supporting marriage and working families. Not only must the federal government stop actively punishing marriage, not only must it stop hindering the American dream, it should also make up for the wholesale damage it has done to the families across generations. Now, I want y'all to listen to this. The authors of this report propose 3 bold federal legislative mechanisms to support married couples with children and offset current and historic marriage penalties. They also propose a number of state policy ideas throughout. First, Congress should build on the president's innovative Trump accounts by supporting marriage with $2,500 initial deposit into a new investment account. Now, I want y'all to listen to this, because this is for white people. This isn't for you. Okay, I promise you, this is for white people, because they want white women to have more babies. And a few years ago, someone actually told me that this was going on in their state, that they were offering white people money to get married. Okay, so please pay attention. Now, with that all being said, goes on to say they will give them a $2,500 initial deposit into a new investment account. Trump accounts, so it has to be a Trump account. Pay attention. It's going to be like a government-owned account, basically. Okay, it's going to be like welfare. It's going to be welfare, in fact, but the difference is it's not going to be the kind of welfare that's given to you when you're broke or struggling or when you're a single parent. It's going to be the kind of welfare that's given to you when you're married and having children, when you're doing exactly what they want you to do. And again, make no mistake, this is for white people. Now, it goes on to say, because they don't give a damn if black people have families or not. Okay, trust and believe. Now, with that all being said, goes on to say Trump accounts are in effect. Hold on, beloveds. Okay, sorry for the inconvenience, beloveds. Now, with that all being said, so he basically wants to pay people to get married and have children. That's what this is all going towards. Okay, so it goes on to say Trump accounts are in effect tax-free long-term bonds that provide a $1,000 deposit at the birth of a child to support his or her adult milestones such as college, education, home buying, or starting businesses. Noticeably absent is support for the milestone of marriage. Congress should expand the Trump accounts by creating separate newlywed early starter trust. Okay, it's called a nest, like a nest egg. Please pay attention. Okay, these trust accounts are nest accounts that support men and women who marry by or before the current average age of first marriage, about age 30, and that provide future retirement support for those who do not. The initial deposit should be $2,500 and would be distributed over 3 years upon eligible marriage. To illustrate, if two people married by age 28, they would be expected to receive an inflation adjusted nest distribution of more than $38,000 by age 30. So if they get married at age 28, by the time they're 30, they'll have $38,000. Now, who's going to turn that down? Who's going to turn that down? I want you all to pay attention. Now, they go on to say this amount would provide newlyweds with a boost to their lives together, with any amounts unclaimed by 30 being converted to traditional individual retirement accounts or IRAs. Okay. Second, Congress should apply the current $17,670 adoption tax credit to married parents for each of their own newborns. So forget paying people to adopt children. Let's give it to parents who keep their own children. So see, that way they're not having as many adoptions. Now, this newly proposed credit would be structured to make up for existing marriage penalties in the earned income tax credit. To incentivize marriage stability for eligible children, the credit would be distributed annually in 4 equal installments across 3 to 4 calendar years. To recognize the investments involved and the societal benefits that accrue from large families, married parents that already have 2 or more children would receive 25% large family bonus for each additional child. To avoid repeating past policy mistakes that punished and disincentivized work, at least one parent would be required to be engaged in verifiable employment for the family to be eligible for the tax credit. Okay, I'm going to stop right there. So you all heard that. You see what's going on here. It sounds like the Handmaid's Tale, like I told you all. Okay. And again, this is not for Black people. I promise you it isn't. Okay. Just make sure you don't think that. Okay. So now with that all being said, listen, let's go to this report about this elderly Black man who was victimized by this white guy. And this was a hate crime. Okay. Looking at this as a hate crime. Viral video shows Cincinnati police arrested man. Oh, no, this is the wrong one. Hold on. This is another video. Well, we can actually go to this first, and then we'll go to the elder that got attacked, an 80-year-old Black man. Now, this is about the Cincinnati police arresting a Black man simply because he was recording outside of a bank. Okay. Yeah, I find it interesting. Ashkan says you lost me a Trump account. Exactly. They're calling it Trump account. But what happens when Trump's no longer the president? Okay. But they don't plan on him leaving office. I promise you that.
Is out of jail after being arrested by Cincinnati police while he was recording video downtown. Thanks for joining us at 10. I'm Trisha Mackey.
And I'm Rob Williams. I went out and talked with a man arrested in this video you see behind us.
So this is from yesterday afternoon when he says that he was trying to teach people about their First Amendment rights.
I try to put people on notice. I try to let people know about rights that I try to put you on notice about rights that you may or may not know that you have. I teach people how to deal with hostile situations and how to deal with law enforcement respectfully.
People would say to you, wouldn't it have been just easier for you to just tell them your name and what you were doing there?
Absolutely.
That would have been an easier path, but why did you choose this one?
Because I like to let people know that you do have a Fourth Amendment right to be secure in your persons, papers, housing, and effects from illegal searches and seizures, because people will take advantage of you not knowing your rights.
When asked about his interaction with Cincinnati police, here's what he said. You can see in the video, bike officers rolling up to question him while he's recording.
It was horrible. I was really shocked that it even happened, because I was eventually going to go in some of the government buildings, which is public. But to get a feel on the police, I decided to do the first one on a public sidewalk, which is traditional public forum. And police supposed to be aware of this.
I went on to ask him about recording in front of a bank and how that may have made people nervous.
Where your feelings start, my rights don't stop.
He's been to 13 separate states and done something similar to what he did here in Cincinnati this week. I asked why it's important for him to do this respectfully.
My work is intended for the younger generation, and they have a bad reputation of just being disrespectful to authority, to their elders, and to each other. So if they look up to me and they watch my videos and they think I'm, a cool guy, and they see me being nothing but respectful for everybody, they will follow path, because the youth, they mimic what they see and they repeat what they hear.
Allie Henner spoke with experts on how his arrest and how police responded.
So, Allie, what'd you learn?
This is kind of a complicated situation. I did speak with our legal expert about this. He says this is an issue of balancing one's First Amendment right to do things that are permissible under the Constitution versus violating criminal law. Now, Cincinnati police policy states that recording in public is a lawful activity and not suspicious on its own. Now, in this case, Moses was not charged for filming on a public sidewalk, filming that bank you saw in the video, but for not disclosing personal information. Moses is charged with failure to disclose personal information, a fourth-degree misdemeanor.
To me, it's not a real obvious situation. The thing that we're missing here, we don't know what the officers knew.
Mark Crumbine, a Cincinnati defense attorney, says under the law, there are two reasons for someone to be arrested for not disclosing personal information in a public place.
One is if there's a reasonable suspicion of a criminal offense, that would be number one. And then number two, that they might be a witness to an offense, a serious offense, or an offense of violence.
Crumbine says the issue is, can police prove he was required to give his personal information?
The complaint alleges that he was inquiring about bank security. So I think that's what the police are saying, why that they had a reasonable suspicion that he might be committing a criminal offense.
According to the Cincinnati Fraternal Order of Police, Moses had asked how many employees were working at the bank and where the vault was located, which made employees so worried they called 911 to have police respond. And if any officer has reasonable suspicion that a crime has been, may be, or will be committed, they have every right to identify a quote-unquote suspect.
We have an individual that's filming outside of the bank across from Pyatt Park in downtown Cincinnati. So basically, legally and common sense wise, it's okay to make a video out in public. People do it millions of times a day, especially with cell phones and
Cincinnati FOP releasing a statement saying, after reviewing the video, it's clear the auditor simply bit off more than he could chew. CPD officers responded, investigated, and made an arrest that was based off of what the law says. Being a self-proclaimed First Amendment auditor doesn't insinuate you are breaking the law. It appears this auditor needs to brush up on the Constitution and the Ohio Revised Code before acting in an unlawful manner. So Cincinnati police also are asking for the community's patience as this incident is investigated internally and by the city's Citizen Complaint Authority. Now, failure to disclose personal information in Ohio is punishable by up to 30 days in jail, a $250 fine, or both. Rob, Tricia.
I've seen a lot of these videos of people that do the same thing, and they usually go viral, and that's why they do it. Mm-hmm. But it's always like, you don't have to do this, you don't have to do this, you don't have to comply. But really, it varies. Correct?
Yeah, after speaking with Mark Crumbine, our legal analyst, he compared this to a situation involving traffic stops, where if they suspect that you're speeding or if you miss a stoplight or don't use your turn signal, you're under suspicion of committing a crime, so you have to divulge your personal information. With this situation, it kind of went viral on social media. Everyone figured, oh, well, he doesn't have to divulge his personal information because he wasn't committing a crime. However, Cincinnati police had suspicion that he might be. Police were worried that he was maybe casing this bank taking videos inside the bank, asking about the security of the bank. So Crumbine says he believes this will eventually go to a trial.
Well, he will be back in town for his trial date, which is set on June 17th. And he says he's going to get here a couple of days early to prepare.
I think the language in that is pretty broad also. It's kind of like, you know art when you see it.
Yeah.
If you have suspicion, that's very broad. So I
There's
mean,
some loopholes there.
Absolutely. All right, good job, guys.
Allie, thank you.
On both
Thank
of
you.
Okay, here's the problem I have with all of that. First of all, I feel like the only reason they were even suspicious is because he was a black person. Okay, I just believe that. That's just me. Okay, I think if it was a white man out there recording, nobody would think a thing. And just like that day that I showed you all the video of the black man sitting in his truck waiting patiently for the bank to open, and the bank called the police on him. Do you think they would have called the police if that were a white man sitting out there waiting in his truck? I guarantee you they wouldn't have. Okay. I guarantee you they wouldn't have. This is just all racism at the end of the day. And they try to say we make everything about race, but no, that's what they do. They do a good enough job of it themselves, so we don't have to. Okay, now with that all being said, let's go to this video about the elder being attacked in this whole hate crime. That's right, Reggie said no benefit of the doubt. But then we're going to go to, I just got the receipts of Barack Obama. Iran wants to negotiate with him. Okay, I told you all, I heard that earlier. I forgot who told me that. But anywho, we're going to get into it. Okay, so likes up, everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance. Okay, so now here's what they say. This is reported from Atlanta Black Star. There's also a news report, which I'll go to momentarily. Didn't want my kind living here. 80-year-old veteran viciously attacked in Florida hate crime. People say Trump's rhetoric is to blame. So a Florida man is accused of attacking an 80-year-old veteran outside his home in what is now being referred to as a hate crime. And the internet is blaming the Trump administration for encouraging similar events. Now, Atlantic Black Star confirmed Kyle Parrish, age 37, is in the Sumter County Jail with no bond as of Thursday. He has been there since April the 30th. Okay, days after authorities say he attacked 80-year-old Dr. Otis Lane. This is absolutely egregious. So they say that Parrish knocked on the front door of Lane's home last month in the Villages. The interaction was caught on camera. Lane told Fox 35 that he thought Parrish was a maintenance worker and went outside, where he was confronted and assaulted. He was very angry and told me that he didn't want my kind living here. Honey, let me tell you something. I'm just going to go to the news report, because this is a whole lot of audacity. So he's going to come and knock on this man's door? He wouldn't have done that if he was 40. He did that because this was an elder. That's why he did it. Baby, if they had been my damn granddaddy, honey, jail wouldn't have had to take him. Okay? But let's continue. Now, with that all being said, let's go to this video so we can see who this devil is. I like his nerve. We don't want your kind living here. Well, bitch, move. If you have a problem with me living here, how about move? This really done ticked me off. Okay, this is him right here.
Hate crime in Sumter County. This man is accused of punching an 80-year-old veteran in the face and then saying your kind is not welcome here. Fox 35's Stephanie Buffamonte is live tonight in Sumter County. So, Stephanie, you actually spoke to the victim. What did he say?
I did, and he and his wife are shaken up. They want the person accused of attacking him to be held responsible and to show that hate will not be tolerated.
There are words that can't explain why a person would come to your house, target you, ring your doorbell, lure you outside, and attack you.
Dr. Otis Lane says Kyle Parrish knocked on the front door of his home in the Villages. You can see Parrish caught on the veteran's Ring camera, knocking on the door with a clenched fist. Dr. Lane says he believed Parrish was a maintenance worker, so he walked out of his garage instead of the front door, and says he was immediately met with hate.
He said, "We don't want people your kind living here." And at that point, he was walking directly towards me.
According to the affidavit, Parrish punched Dr. Lane right in the face.
He stepped in front of me. He hit me so quickly, I didn't have an option to defend myself or to respond.
You said that he came up to you and said, "We don't want your kind here." What was going through your mind when you heard that?
Listen, I was born in the South under Jim Crow laws, and I've had to deal with racism all my life. I didn't get to be Dr. Otis C. Lane by accident. It was through sweat and tears, and in some cases, I was made to feel degraded as a second-class citizen. And I reached this level in my life, the last thing I would think would be a young white man that would come into my development and target me and assault me.
Investigators arrested Parrish days later for battery on a person 65 years old or older. Turns out Otis says Parrish's father does maintenance on their home, and Parrish had been there before. According to the affidavit, law enforcement believed there was a prejudicial motive, and this could be classified as a hate crime. It's up to the state attorney's office to make that decision. Now, this did happen a few weeks ago. The victim tells me that since then, they've had a town hall in the villages to discuss security in the villages. Reporting live in Sumter County, Stephanie Buffmonti, Fox 35 News.
If you struggle.
So here's what it is. Let me just tell you all something. First of all, they know damn well it was a hate crime. Okay, they don't need to determine anything. They know that's what it was. When he literally said out of his mouth, "We don't want your kind living here." Okay, that lets you know he's racist. But also, it's interesting that they said that the guy's father had done maintenance work at the doctor's house, and he too had been there before. Well, you know what that is, right? That's envy. He's jealous. Here you have a black man who's a doctor. He's 80 years old, so he's probably been a doctor for decades, clearly, and he probably does pretty well for himself. And you and your dad are the maintenance people, or your father is his maintenance worker. So yeah, you're mad, you're jealous, you're hating, and that's all racism ever is. Okay, I keep telling y'all that. That's all racism ever is. It's just hate, envy, and jealousy. Okay, and it's real sad and disgusting. But, you know, that's what happens when you have people who feel inferior. They have to pretend to be superior. That's what they have to do. Now, with that all being said, let's get into this whole thing about them wanting Obama for the negotiations. And he's not even the president, honey. Please pay attention. And Ashkan said they're probably trolling Trump. Well, of course they are. They know this would piss Trump off. Okay? They absolutely know this would tick him off. And that's what they want to do. And I'm sure it's working.
Iran is signaling that any diplomatic path out of its conflict with the United States would need to go well beyond the nuclear deal negotiated under Barack Obama. President Donald Trump has announced a sudden 2-week ceasefire, stepping back from threats of expanded US strikes. The pause is tied to Iran's agreement to temporarily reopen the Strait of Hormuz, a move aimed at creating space for negotiations to resolve the conflict. Trump has described Iran's starting point as workable. It calls for the US to allow uranium enrichment, lift all sanctions, and end international resolutions against Tehran without mentioning nuclear limits or inspections. Unlike today's opening offer, Obama's 2015 nuclear pact, the one Trump slammed, lifted sanctions only if Iran accepted tough nuclear limits and let international inspectors in. Iran's new plan also includes much broader demands, such as a US military withdrawal from the region and an end to hostilities involving Iran-aligned groups. Iran now seems to be hoping that Trump, who denounced the 2015 accord as too generous, would eventually sign off on a deal far more favorable to Tehran. Whether Iran's ambitious gambit succeeds is, for now, uncertain.
Okay, now we're going to go to the foreign minister, Abbas Araqchi, basically talking about how he doesn't trust the United States. And, you know, we know that this is all due to Trump.
Most important issue right now is the question of trust. We cannot trust Americans at all. So everything should be exact. Everything should be defined very clearly before we can conclude a deal. And it is obvious that those things they have not been able to achieve militarily, they cannot achieve on negotiation table, unless there is a win-win solution achieved. So the current negotiation is suffering from the lack of trust. Or another problem is as I said, contradictory messages, which has made us reluctant about the real intentions of Americans in these negotiations. We are in doubt about their seriousness, but the moment we feel that they are serious and they are ready for a fair and balanced deal, we certainly proceed in the course of negotiations.
Clearly no trust. And like I said, this is all due to Trump's nefariousness, because Trump does have a lot of contradictions, and then he tells so many lies. Listen, you already know that they don't trust him because, first of all, think about how Trump sits there and says he wants to have, he wants to have negotiations for peace, but then he comes out and talks about bombing them back into the Stone Age. Or then he comes out and calls them animals. Or then he comes out and lies and says that they murdered 42,000 of their own people. That is such a lie. If that actually happened, if that were actually true, that would be international news. That would be all over the world news. And that's how people with common sense should know that Trump's just a liar who lies. Okay, they didn't kill 42,000 people. And then he had the nerve to send guns over there and trying to get the people stirred up. And then the Mossad was over there, provoking the crowd and all of that. They're the ones that started firing, supposedly. So with that all being said, this whole thing is just a bunch of BS, in my opinion. Now let's go to this last clip, because the guy did a TikTok. This other guy did a TikTok about Obama.
So Iran just tweeted out that they will only negotiate with Obama. Yeah. They said, sorry, we're holding out for the GOAT. Yeah, we're not talking to you. We were going to wait for President Obama, the greatest president of all time. We ain't fucking with you, but we're chilling here by the Strait of Hormuz until you send in the varsity team. We will only negotiate with Obama. Oh my, Trump's head is going to explode. I'm sorry. Oh my God. Trump, there will be ketchup, French fries.
I'm sorry, I forgot I was muted. I was reading that to you all what it said. It said, hey, at Real Donald Trump, we've reviewed the tapes and decided we only talk to the GOAT. We're holding out for Obama. The greatest president in U.S. history. No, you all know they're trolling Trump. They're clearly trolling him, trying to tick him off, okay? As much as they know that he is so envious of Obama, that's right, his arch nemesis. Okay, let's continue.
Fries and cheeseburgers hitting every wall of the White House tonight because Iran is straight trolling Trumpy McDupper pants. He's wiper, clean up on the aisle, Oval Office. Yeah, he got a big load right now after this one. Iran is trolling Trump. They said they're only going to negotiate with Barack.
Okay, I can't blame him. He has a whole lot more sense than Trump ever could muster. Okay, so anyway, beloveds, with that all being said, I'm going to conclude this broadcast. I want to thank you all for coming in. But let me say before I go, for any of you who ordered a Trump phone, for any of you who ordered a Trump phone, Trump Mobile CEO provided an update on the T1 smartphone that came out today, the update. They say after a year of missed deadlines, changes to the fine print, and mounting customer frustration, Trump Mobile is finally ready to deliver. According to a report by Fortune, Pat O'Brien, CEO of Trump Mobile, confirmed that the company will be shipping its T1 smartphone this week to customers who placed $100 deposits during the pre-order launch last June. Why did it take them a year to get this all going? Okay, I have so many questions, and I'm pretty much going to guarantee you all that they're not going to give these people these phones. Maybe some of them will get them, but I don't believe everyone that ordered a phone and put down a $100 deposit is going to get those phones. I just don't believe it. Okay, I'll believe it when I see it. All right, so with that being said, listen, I love you all to life. I hope you enjoy the rest of this night. Enjoy your strong end, not the weekend, leaving you in a weakened state of mind. Each one teach one. That's how we grow and thrive. Do something productive, constructive, but never destructive. And always remember, beloveds, to keep the Most High first in your lives. And if you're looking for something good to watch this weekend, my friend Derek Muhammad has a movie out on Tubi starring Karen White, the singer, okay, and it's called Gale in the Storm. Okay, you should check it out. Okay, you should check it out. And with that all being said, I will see you all mid-morning. Yeah, I will see you all mid-morning, beloveds. Hold on. It's called Gale and the Storm. Okay, Gale, Gale, and the Storm, starring Karen White. All right? And so anyway, Reggie said, I love Karen White. Yes, I do too. Okay, I absolutely do too. Now, with that all being said, everyone enjoy the rest of this evening, and I will talk to you all again soon, beloveds. Peace.
With that gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you're done. They show no love for the queen. Why you hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans? I got dreams like King Luther, shed blood like Kunsa. You ain't helping my people, I ain't got nothing to say to ya. I want all the smoke like hookah. Talking reparations, America won't be great until they give us compensation. I'm like, I'm the hottest right now. See a bunch of lames out here trying to jock on my style. They be doing too much. I'm the queen, it's too easy. It's like they all at Popeyes, how they be talking so greasy. I just sit back and laugh while these haters get madder. So nefarious how they don't want my pockets with cheddar. I tell them they can do better. These snakes in the grass can leave a bite on your ass, cause y'all be trusting too fast. I got my foot on the gas, other one on they necks. Dropping receipts on haters, you better show some respect. I'm never facing regrets, we only facing the threats. Running through every challenge like a relay, break no sweat. It's a cold game, so I got that blanket with me. Now that my people awaken, ain't no going to sleep. I do not play by my piece. This time I'm playing for keeps. You talking slick, but when I see you like them ends, we gon' meet. And I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen. Why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen.